I was going to introduce. Anyway, hi. We were just laughing because everybody turned their chairs. That's scary. I'm Sue Fads. I'm part of the Hall of Fame committee. I would like to congratulate the inductees 2025. I'm here to induct one of my softball players. I told her, I said, did you grow or do you have high heels on? So she proved. Anyway, so first of all, I want to talk about this is pride. We were talking about that. We know everybody. This is what Brooke Pride is. When somebody wants to know what Brooke Pride is, this is Brooke Pride. We're probably related to everybody. We know everybody. Everybody was always at each other's games, no matter if it was football or softball or baseball. We all know each other. And we know them. With their hard work, that's what Brooke Pride is. Hard work, dedication, teamwork, that's what it was. Hopefully, we can get back to that. But I'm very proud of these people. I'm very proud of Aaron. Aaron's husband is Nate White, who also is a Hall of Fame inductee. Her sister, Jonna, also is a Hall of Fame inductee. So when I say family, it's family. Aaron was my pitcher in softball. And as you know, pitching underhand is very hard to do. Very. Anybody can pitch overhand. Sorry. Sorry. Anyway, but underhand's very hard. Erin, when she was young, she was very small. And it was so fun to watch the other team, because when you're warming up, everybody is throwing the ball. But when you go out on the field, the other team comes to the fence to watch the pitcher. And then here comes Erin, walking up to the mound. When she let one loose, and it went right down the middle, their eyeballs were about this big, and they were astonished. Erin had a lot of support from her teammates. And she also had support from her sister, John. And we always laughed. Actually, Johnny Joe and I always laughed because her dad always kept my book. And Robin Lahita was my assistant at the time. And I always told my pitchers, I said, if you get in a bind, if you feel that flow, if you're losing it, just walk around the mound. Slow. Walk around, come up from the back. Take your time. Well, Johnny was my shortstop. So Erin would, if she was losing that flow, walk around, then all of a sudden, here comes John. I'd stand there and I'd be like, oh no. Because if you ever taught sisters, I've taught a lot of sisters, they're pretty catty with each other. So here comes Joanna. I look at Johnny Joe and go, oh my God, what is she going to do? It's like, I don't know. And Erin would just walk around there, and Johnny would come up and say a couple of things, and you see Erin go, okay. Johnny would go back, boom, there goes a strike. So it always helps having family along with her. So I enjoyed coaching. I enjoyed coaching back then. I enjoyed my team. I enjoyed my kids. I call them my kids. I told her, I said, man, I still think of you guys as kids. Your hair changed, blonde, you were blonde, and you were blonde. I don't know what happened. But I always still call these guys my kids, So, Erin, in 1996, was the second team All-Conference OVAC. In 1997, she was first team All-Conference. 1998, first team All-Conference. 1998, honorable mention All-State. Erin went on to Wesleyan College and played a couple years down at Wesleyan College. And as we all know, when you get to college, your academics supersede your athletics. And that's what happened. Athletics, you know, she talked about it to her sister, and it was like a no-brainer. You have to go for the academics. She is so smart. She graduated from Wesleyan. She went to Villanova University, graduated from Villanova University, published a thesis at Villanova University. She has a master's in biology, a master's in secondary education from WVU, and right now she teaches at University High. Boo. Anyway, she teaches biology, she teaches WVU Access Biology, she teaches the honor program, and she's been teaching for 18 years. She is the daughter of John and Teresa D'Aurora. She married to Nate White, and she has two sons, Toby, who actually is playing in Butler football right now, and Jesse, her son Jesse. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to Erin D'Aurora White.
I was short, I made you justice. First, I want to say thank you so much to Brooke High School, Brooke County Schools, and to the Brooke High Hall of Fame Selection Committee. Honestly, thank you everyone for even considering my name. I'd like to share with you how I received my invitation. It came by way of phone call from Coach Faz, and it went a little something like this. You know, I said hello, and she said, Erin. Now, I can't do impressions, but at that moment, with that very specific pronunciation of my name, a lightning bolt shot down my back molar because I haven't heard that specific pronunciation of my name since 1995 to 1998, and probably even before that when I was in Humerson Heights and in your gym class. Because as you can imagine, what was to follow after that pronunciation was probably not something very positive. But in this case, it was. It was a very unexpected, positive, exciting message, and for that, it will definitely now be in my memory bank as part of this entire exciting experience. So thank you for that. When I shared this news with my family, with my husband and my boys, the first thing that came to my mind was, I have to give a speech. What am I going to say? What goes into this speech? And without any hesitation, they said, talk about your most memorable game. Talk about where it all started and what it means to you and how it shaped you as a person. And everyone, that is the formula for this speech today. So, my most memorable game was an easy one to pick out. It was my senior year, and we played Edison Local. It was an away game, and spoiler alert, we lost, but it was a win in every other sense of the word. You see, Edison had a very fantastically talented pitching staff, and they were backed by incredible athletes on their roster. So any high school that would face them was going to be in for a challenge. And I remember before this game still very clearly that when I went there, probably much like other athletes here, you just want to be as much of a challenge for them as what they're going to be for you. And everyone, this game was everything you could ever imagine. It was fast-paced, it was exciting, it was intense. And there was one player, in fact, not a Bruin, that got called for trying to lean into a pitch. And we went 9 innings. In softball, you only play 7, but we went 9 innings, scoreless. And as all games do, you gotta have a conclusion. And it wasn't the one we wanted, but I still left there thinking, oh my goodness, that just happened, and that was pretty amazing. Now, this was a school night, so the next day at school, I could not wait to get home, and hopefully there was a paper on the kitchen table, which thankfully, Mom and Dad, thank you for always having a newspaper at home for us. And now let me tell you a side story. So I have a freshman homeroom at University High School. I just graduated my seniors. And I had seen this girl's name in the paper. She's a soccer player. She's very talented. And I said, hey, I saw your name in the paper. Looks like you're off to a great start. And she went, the what? I said, the paper. She goes, you mean Facebook? I was like, nope. It's that thing that's on paper with words, you fold it, you can read it. She's like, oh, that's the thing my pap does the crossword puzzle on the toilet. Like, that's the one. So anyway, I couldn't wait to get my hands on a paper because I really wanted to see what it had to say. And when I was leaving class one day, I ran into Mr. Scroggins in the hallway, and Mr. Scroggins goes, "Dear Laura, I've never seen so much ink dedicated to a loss in all my life." And in that nanosecond, my whole world just kind of stopped. I mean, all the butterflies, the adrenaline, now I really could not wait to get home. And it was really for two reasons. One, I wanted to selfishly just experience the game for a smidgen longer. And two, because I really wanted to see if it really happened. I still was in disbelief. And the article didn't disappoint, and I have a record of that. Thank you, Mom, for keeping that in binders. And so that was a fun story and kind of memory lane to walk down. And it's hard to believe that this all started at 155 McKinley, literally on the side of my house on the side street. And my dad, he asked, he said, "You want to go throw the ball?" I'm like, "I guess so." So we went out to throw the ball, and before we quit, I said, "Hey, Dad, can I throw a wind-up to you? Because I've seen this done before, and I want to try it." Now, this is when I was, young, Fallensby Girls Softball League, like Royals era. My sisters probably remember that. So it was that long ago. And I threw about 10. He's like, "Yeah, we can work on that. That's pretty good." But that's the moment where the spark happened. That was when I really, took to the game and found my niche in it, if you will. And the position itself of pitching kind of appealed to me for different reasons. It was something that would allow me to participate in every play, or as many plays as possible. It also put me in a position of control. Some people say I have control issues. I will take care of that later. But it allowed me to try to outthink the players too, and I really enjoyed all that. But as Coach Fads told you, I'm not typical in terms of size and physique. Like, I never was of the pitchers that would be strong and overpowering and everything, but that was never what motivated me to want to be better and to want to contribute to the team or to find some success. It was really just to find what potential that I had and to see what I could do, to test my own limits, I guess. But that's a big part, I think, of what shaped me and my attitude as a person, as a parent, as a teacher, because you can't let other people define your potential. And that's what I try to tell my students, explicitly, and I teach my children that. And my dad, you know him, he's a bit of a character. He would say to me, "Erin, if there's ever someone who wants to fight me, I'll show up. I'll show up every time." Now, I'm cleaning this up for the audience. I may get my butt kicked, but you can't say I didn't show up. And so knowing him, he may have been very literal about that, but for me, it was, it was about showing up. If there's anything you want to do, younger, older, whatever, if there's something you want to do, you go out and do it, right? What's stopping you? Go out and do it. Give it all you got. You might fail. You might succeed. You might fall somewhere in between. You might find your next steps, right? But that's a major part, I think, that played in the development of my mindset. And this position brought me a lot of confidence. I'm not a very naturally confident person. I think the fact that I'm a middle child and have a microphone is quite misleading. I'm not very confident naturally, and I'll probably get a talking to from my dad after having said this into a microphone today. But it did give me confidence because it gave me like a role to play and maybe a place to be, or it just gave me a place to belong. So it really did mean a lot to me. But bringing this all back to Brooke High School, I was very fortunate to be on the softball team and to play for 4 years. But most importantly, it brought me the opportunity to meet my bestest friend in the whole wide world, and that's you, Nathan. You see, we met at a senior player my freshman year at her house, Jennifer Catlett. She was having a euchre tournament, and that's where we got to meet and talk and get to know each other and all of that. And, just everything. You are my best friend, and he has a brilliant smile. He's done a few things athletically. It's kind of notable. But, and what's funny is he's in the Athletic Hall of Fame here for a sport that I didn't even know he played. When I met him, I just thought he was a great baseball hitter. But he's a great father. He has an honest heart. You're just a wonderful person, faith-filled. You're a loving son, a loving brother, and you're everything to me. And we have 2 children, Toby and Jesse, that I'm proud of every breath I have, every breath I take. I'm so proud of you, Jesse. And Toby, you can tell him that. It's on tape. But I'm excited to see what you guys accomplish in your life. So with that, I will let you all know comfortably that I intend to fully abuse this title of Hall of Famer, especially when it comes to laundry days, when my kids will not put their clothes in the laundry basket. Let them know that a Hall of Famer has asked them to please do so. But truly, this means the world to me, and I thank you all very much, so God bless.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Amanda DiMarzio, and this is Paul Giulio. And we both had the pleasure of coaching Miss Allie Crawford in track and field. A couple things I want to say about Allie. Allie is a very, very lucky girl. She is intelligent, she's athletic, she's beautiful on the inside and out. She's lucky, has the most wonderful family that was at every track meet supporting her. You were surrounded by wonderful people. But luck doesn't get you a seat up here. It's nice to be lucky in those areas. But what gets you a seat up here with these Hall of Famers is hard work, determination, the desire to win. I always call it the fire in the belly. That's why she's a Hall of Famer. And she's in great company with Aaron and Chris, Sterwijak, Larry Teeters, and George Kidwell. Allie stands out as my most memorable athlete that I've ever coached and ever will coach. And it's not because she's so talented, but she just had it. When it was time to work, she was there, 100% in. There wasn't a day that went by that she wasn't ready to put every effort into whatever she did. It was 5 o'clock. I'm tired. I'm ready to go home to my family. And she'd be like, can we stay just like a half hour longer? I just want to try this block 500 more times before I go home. So those are the kind of athletes that coaches love, they want it all. They want to keep working. And you, my love, were such a coachable athlete. And that's one of the best compliments you could ever get. Her track record, I guess you should say, at Brooke High School is just absolutely phenomenal. She just, I think you said 6, 7 records while you were here. I think it was 6. But every time she ran, she was setting a new record. And half of the time she was beating mine. So I was proud about that though. It was good to see. Her name's still in the track record books for having the 100 hurdles, the 300 hurdles, the 4x1, and the 4x2. So she still holds 4 records right now for this high school. She also went on to have an absolutely amazing career in college. She attended West Virginia Wesleyan. She was a 6-time first team all-conference, 3-time Mountain East Conference individual champion, 3-time Mountain East relay champion, 3-time Mountain East team champion, and I could keep going on. There's lines. So not only was she impressive at Brooke High School, but she continued it on through her collegiate career at Wesleyan. Now, I will tell you this. When we would go to track meets her senior year, and Allie would run the 100 hurdles and win the 100 hurdles, Coach Julio every time would lean over and say, "There's 10 points we're not getting next year." Every event. And I'm like, will you stop saying that? But he was right, because when I knew she was on that starting line, our team was getting 10 points, because she had that fire in the belly, and she was hitting that finish line before anybody else, come heck or high water, and she was a competitor. I feel like I'm hogging the mic. But Allie was a very special individual, and I can't express how proud I am of you, not just of your athletic endeavors, but you as a person, who you've become, and your amazing career that you've had after graduation. So with that being said, Coach Julio has a gift to give Miss Crawford, and I would like to introduce Miss Allie Crawford.
Oh my goodness. So this is a bit of an inside joke, and I guess I'll start with this. If you can't see, he handed me an empty Diet Coke bottle and some toilet paper. And you've been wondering, why on earth did he just hand you that? And there's a kind of two inside jokes wrapped into one, but we'll start with the toilet paper, and probably one of my most memorable times at Brooke High School, let alone being a student athlete at Brooke High School. One time for fun at practice, even though they both just said that I was so hardworking, such a talented athlete, I was, but I also had a lot of fun when I was here. And so I took some toilet paper from the bathrooms down at the stadium, and I toilet papered their cars while they were coaching, and I was supposed to be practicing, and I thought it was hilarious. And then, I don't know, a week or so later, because, you know, their coaches, their teachers, they know my address, they know where I live, they came to my home and toilet papered my car in front of my home. And so I will never forget that, but I think that's where this is coming from. And I will throw this away because I am a good person. But yes, there are so many reasons why being inducted into the Hall of Fame is meaningful to me, and I'd like to try to at least articulate a few of them, but I think it's almost impossible to share them all with you today. But first, let me extend my sincerest gratitude to the selection committee for this incredible honor, and also to Jason for coordinating such a wonderful event so we can all be here and celebrate our successes and accomplishments together. I look back on my time here at Brooke High School with such fondness, and that's because I grew up here. My family is from here. My family is still here. I received my education here. I experienced 18 years of life here, and yet never did I expect that something as seemingly simple as me running around my yard and being fast and good at it would memorialize me here at Brooke High School forever in that way. And so just that alone is very impactful and meaningful to me. My time as an athlete, like I mentioned, was about 50% of hard work and then about 50% playing around. I think that was a good balance, and we saw a lot of success from that. But I also, when I was thinking about my year and what do I want to say and what things I want to share, naturally you think, well, I can list off all of my accomplishments, and I can list off all of the kind of meaningful awards that I also achieve while being a student athlete. But when you get older, you realize that, or maybe you overlook it at the time, how much support you get from the people around you that really enable you to be successful in what it is that you do. And so I had so much support from my coaches that were here, and not just in terms of showing up to practice and putting us through drills and having us practice and run our relays and our starts, but just like spending those extra 30 minutes with you because they believed that you could do something that you never thought you could, right? I was kind of fast kid growing up. I didn't think that sports would take me to college, but it did. And these people knew that it could and believed in me and supported me and worked with me so that way I could be the best athlete that I could possibly become. And then also just to have the support of the teachers at the school. I remember my junior year of high school when I first started receiving letters from colleges that were interested in having me run. And I'm like, who the heck wants to pay me to go run in college? I just never thought that was, it was unfathomable to think. And I just remember my homeroom teacher just saying, hey, these are really important, and this is a really big deal. And you can go to school for being good at sport. And I never thought that wasn't conceivable. And so to have that type of support from people that aren't your family, to recognize the talent that you have, to nurture it, I look back and I think that's how I got to where I did, because I had people that cared and nurtured my talent and supported me through the journey. And I'm very grateful to you for also putting up with me, because I think I was a gem, but I know I was a handful. And I also know, any coach knows, but it's a lot of time that you sacrificed yourself to take us to these places and to invest yourself into our success. And so thank you so much for that. And I will keep this short and sweet because I do fear that I will become a little emotional myself. But I'll end with this. I started running track because of my family. I started running track because of my brother in the 3rd grade. He had to volunteer at the Ohio Valley Track Club, if anybody remembers that from back in the day. And because he had to go, I had to go with him. And it was a great way for me to run around, burn off my energy, and everybody realized kind of fast, kind of good at it. And I liked winning. It was a lot of fun as a kid to be really good at a sport. And so I started running in 2003, thanks to my brother. And I competed in my last track meet 13 years later in 2016. And throughout that time, there were only 2 things that I think remained completely constant in that time period. One is that I was prone to fits of bad attitudes if I didn't perform well or have a good practice, and my mom and Coach DiMarzio can absolutely attest to that. But the other constant is that my family, and especially my mom, would always be in the stands to support and to cheer. Any meet, if it was a home meet, if it was at the state meet in Charleston and my mom got lost on the way down there, she would be there. And like I mentioned, when you're a kid, you don't really see the sacrifices that people make for you to do the things that you do, maybe until you're in a position like this and you realize it. But you sacrifice a lot as a student athlete, but I don't think I ever realized how much my family sacrificed, especially my mother, to support me and to be there for me and to just cheer for me. And so if I never said it enough, I want to thank my coaches for all the support, for getting me to school, for enabling me to have a successful career in college. And I want to say thank you to my family who's here for always supporting me, for never underestimating me when I would underestimate myself. My brother for recording every single track meet I ever ran, that just this past couple weeks I've made my boyfriend watch every one of those videos, and to my mom for literally being at every event from high school and in college, when you travel a lot in college. Thank you so much.
My name is Mike Rogers. I'm here to present Larry Teeters. Larry can't be here tonight, and I'll cover that later. I just found out that the public address announcer had to be told how to pronounce the name Aurora. What is going on? I was sitting here thinking about my first day of teaching. I walked into this cafeteria for lunch duty, and I could still almost see the morsels of food flying through the air. I'm going to talk about Larry, and I'm going to try not to be emotional. He can't be here. He physically is unable to be here. And when you hear his story, it's kind of amazing. He came out to Brooke in 1969, first year of the school, came from Wellsburg, had never run cross country before. He was coached by a gentleman named Harry Miller, and Mr. Miller had been one of my coaches in high school, just a great guy. I admire him to death. You can see his accomplishments. I'm not going to go through those. The icing on the cake was in the state meet. Larry finished in the top 10. He was the first all-state athlete at Brooke High School. He followed that up the next year. Mr. Miller left. Went back to South Carolina to his home. I was hired to be the cross-country coach. We had a good year. Had a lot of seniors. Had a lot of good kids. Larry was a natural talent. First time I saw him run, his style was different than anything I'd ever seen, but it was very efficient. He was strong. But anybody who knows anything about distance running knows no matter how much talent you have, if you don't do the work, you're not going to succeed. And he did the work. They all did the work and never complained. The icing on the cake there, the cherry on top, in the state meet, he finished third out of the whole state of West Virginia. At that time, all the classes ran together. So we had single A, double A, triple A, all running in the same meet. Marshall calls themselves a thundering herd. You talk about a thundering herd. That's exactly what that was. He finished third. He became the first Brooke High athlete to be a two-time all-state winner. During his senior year, he was recruited by Edgar Martin, the coach at West Liberty University. That's right, Mr. Scroggins, we call it the U. As a freshman in college, he finished, he was all conference. He went back for his sophomore year. Again, he was all conference. And he said to me, you know, Coach, he said, at the end of my sophomore year, I just decided that college wasn't for me. He was doing well. He had studied criminology. He said, I just decided that college wasn't for me, and I get that. And there's a lot of opportunities for young people today that don't require college. So we went on and first took a job in the mill. The mills were hiring, the money was good. Eventually he worked his way into what he really loved, and that was law enforcement. He worked as a deputy in Brooke County. I think he also worked as a policeman in Wellsburg. I'm not sure the date, but Larry was injured on the job. He was injured in a line of duty, and his patrol car was struck from the side by a hit-and-run driver. He was driving at a low rate of speed. The other driver was not. Because he got hit at an angle, the airbags did not deploy, and he was seriously injured. And those injuries haunt him today, and that's the reason he can't be here. He's in constant pain, awaiting surgery, possible surgery, and I was gonna tell a couple stories, and I thought, maybe that'll take too long, but it won't. I was right out of college. I was only about 3.5 years older than some of the kids I was coaching, and kids always try you out, and I knew they would. So one day we were right out here before they put the pool in. We were about where the swimming pool is, and we were running down through that field, down the hill onto the flat, down another hill along the creek, across and back up. And I timed everything, so I stood there and timed them, and they all finished. So they started off again for the second trip, and for some reason I just started following them, and I walked over to the brow of the hill and stood there and watched them. When they got to the bottom of the first hill, and my captain, Larry Teeters, put his hand up, and they all start jogging real easy, and they're giggling and laughing, and he's looking at his watch, and they turn to their left and they run, and I swear they ran right down in front of me, and not one of them looked up. And I'm standing there watching them, and they're all giggling and talking. got to the point of the hill, came flying up, and they're all pretending like they're breathing really hard and they're looking for me, and now I'm standing behind them. And Larry turned around and I could read his lips. He said, "Oh crap." I said, "Guys, let's go to the hill behind the school where we can all see each other." And the other one, we had a guy named Rick Soley. Rick was just an athlete. He came out to get in shape for basketball, and he had a talent to run. Larry was just a natural runner. Rick was just strong as a bull, and he was stubborn as a bull too. When you're running distance running, that helps. And he would push Larry. Everything we did, he'd push Larry. And one day, I had him run. We used to run down the road and up Arnold Mine Hill. And if you've never been up Arnold Mine Hill, if you ever want to see your knees from the front, take a run up there. And believe me, it's steep, it's hard. Onto Rabbit Hill, back down into Wellsburg, and back to Brooke. Well, I followed him in a car because there was a lot of kids and I wanted to keep track of all of them, keep an eye on all of them. And I was coming up Route 2 and I saw Larry running along, and Ricky was 10, 15 yards behind him. And they came up Cross Creek Road and they ran by, and Larry ran by, and I wrote the time down. I expected him to go get a drink of water. And he turned around and looked at me and he said, "That Soley was driving me crazy." He said, "I kept picking it up, and every time I looked back, he was right there." There's some things I'd like to say to Larry. I was hoping to look him in the eye and just tell him how incredibly proud I am of him, not just as an athlete, but as a man. He's a father, a husband, and a community servant. He worked in law enforcement. He was a volunteer fireman probably for 50 years or more. But I will tell him that when I take the plaque to the house. I will tell him how proud I am of him. I should have warned you about this. I had lapses. On behalf of Larry and myself, I just want to say to the committee, thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Bill Weijak. I'm a little loud I guess, but it's indeed a pleasure for me to introduce to you a young, I guess middle-aged man now, that I've known ever since he was born. But this guy, Chris Weijak, was born into a household where athletics was pretty important. It's almost an everyday occurrence. So I thought, well, maybe there will be something here that he'll be involved in athletics. I think I'll take him to practice with me. Little did I know that when I took him to football practice, and we were down on the field working, trying to make a team of champions down there in the field, Chris, BJ, and TJ were down at the creek fishing or wading in the creek. They would come back to the school, and the managers would put them in the dryer. And they would have a contest as to how, who could go around that drum more than anybody else. I don't know who has the record. But all this time I thought, boy, I'm going to have an athlete here, not knowing that he's in a dryer going around a circle. Well, anyway, he did. He did go through a lot of the youth league athletics in football and basketball and baseball. And when he got to high school age, he was able to make the best of his career. He got a chance to play football as a starter and became starting quarterback with our 1990 state championship team. Unfortunately, a torn ACL in his senior year kind of ended his high school career. Basketball, he was a starter as a freshman and was able again to play through that until his senior year when that ACL injury really ended his career there. But as far as I know, he still reigns as the quarterback with the most, the starting quarterback with the most victories in Brooke High School history. Then going through college, he was able to get I go to Washington and Jefferson College, where he did play a couple of years for Washington and Jefferson, and then finally found out that, my academics is a little bit more important than anything else in my career. So he was able to finish his academics at Washington and Jefferson, get a job working out for Winning Nippon. He's a wonderful father. He's a great uncle. He takes his granddaughters to get pedicures and all that nice stuff. He's a wonderful son. Sharon, you did a great job raising him. But again, here we go to introduce Mr. Chris Wieszak into the Hall of Fame class of 2025.
Thanks, Dad. DJ Billiard does have that record for 4 revolutions around in the dryer. So. I only had 2. I think BJ had 3, so I was dead last. But I did catch the biggest fish. So. First, I just want to say how humbled and honored I am to be standing here tonight, being inducted into this Hall of Fame. To be recognized by the committee is truly special. I also want to say congratulations to all the fellow athletes being honored here tonight. I did not get this far in life alone. I want to say thank you to my family. To my parents, thank you for being my biggest supporters. You drove me to practices, cheered in the stands no matter what the weather, coached me from the sidelines, even when I didn't want to hear it. But most importantly, taught me what hard work and commitment looks like. To my brother Wheat, thank you for always being my biggest fan. Your support and encouragement means everything to me. To all my coaches, specifically Coach B, Coach Ryder, Coach Scroggins, you guided me through my high school career. You pushed me harder than I thought I could go because you believed in me, and you taught me lessons far beyond the football field and basketball. Growing up, I was a gym rat, as my dad said. I always found myself going to practices with him. I remember being around Brooke greats such as Jeff Schweitzer, Mark Cohn, and Bobby Whitehead, just to name a few. I always dreamt of the days when I would get to wear green and gold. When that day came, I was lucky enough to be accompanied by a group of top-notch athletes whose goal, like mine, was to be a champion. So this honor really belongs to all of us. I may be the one getting inducted here tonight, but every success I had came from standing side by side with you on those Friday nights. You provided me with one of the highlights of my career, winning the 1990 state football championship. We were coached by the best in the business that year and cheered on by a fan base no other than in the state of West Virginia. I was also blessed to be able to participate in the state basketball tournament and will always cherish those memories. Football taught me perseverance, accountability, and the importance of putting others before yourself. Those lessons carried me into my career, my everyday life, but more importantly, my family. I hope that someday my son Crew will experience athletics similar to how I did. I hope I can teach him to work hard, stay humble, and not to take a single game or practice for granted. It will be a joy to watch him grow and mold into a successful young man. Crew, it's a privilege to be your coach, your friend, but most of all, your father. My time as a student athlete at Brooke High School has given me many unforgettable moments. I am proud to be a part of this tradition. The players, coaches, fans, administration, and the entire Bruin community will always hold a special place in my heart. Thank you all for sharing this moment with me and all the other inductees here tonight. And as always, let's go Bruins. Stay on for my dad. It's an incredible honor to stand here tonight as both the son and fellow inductee. On behalf of my mom, my brother, and our entire family who are here tonight, I want to thank the Brooke High School Hall of Fame Committee for recognizing my father, Coach Bill Wiesiak. For decades, my dad poured his heart into Brooke High School football and basketball. He wasn't just a coach on the sidelines, he was a mentor, a teacher, and a builder of young men. He demanded hard work, discipline, and respect. He also gave back just as much. His time, encouragement, and a belief that every player could achieve more than he thought possible. No matter where you are with my father, someone would stop, smile, and say, "Hey, Coach," and tell him about the impact he's had on their life. Even when I was young, probably around Crew's age, probably around 10 years old, our family vacations to Myrtle Beach would include a stop to Fairmont University, where he went to college. We'd walk around the university and see the places that mattered to my dad, including the 1967 National Football Championship trophy. I'll never forget one trip when the janitor stopped what he was doing, looked at my dad and said, "Aren't you running back, Wiesiak?" Because he still holds the record for most punt return yards in a season. 1,196 yards. That will never be broken. That's a legacy of Bill Wiesiak, a man whose achievements on the field are matched only by the lives he's touched, often. It's a privilege for me, his son, to introduce him as he takes his rightful place in the Brooke High Hall of Fame. Please join me in welcoming my father, Coach Bill Wiesiak.
I'm back. Jason, how much time do we have? We okay? Okay. The last time I was up here, not today, but last time I was up here giving a speech, I got a standing ovation because I tripped over the microphone. So I thought to myself, I'm not going to do this again. I'm going to research this. I'm going to find out how to give a speech, how to give an acceptance speech, and I'm going to do it right this time. So I went online and I found a site where this guy, I don't know what his name was, but he wrote speeches for Hollywood stars. And I said, if he can do that for them, it's good enough for me. So I read along and it said, do CPR. I said, okay. So for the last 6 or 7 weeks, I've been studying CPR. I've been doing CPR. And, right now I'm a certified paramedic. But then when I went back and I thought, this isn't helping me with my speech. So I went back and I looked at it, and it wasn't do cardio, CPR, whatever that means, but it's content, practice, and then relate. So I thought, holy mackerel, I better start all over again. So, okay, here we go. Content. Thank you, everybody. Congratulations to you guys up here at the table. Thank you, committee, for putting me into this Hall of Fame. I'm so humbled to be here. I really am. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. To my family, Sharon, my rock, the rock, don't shake your head, you are the rock of our family. She holds everybody together. Chris, so much proud of Chris and his accomplishments. My son Kevin, an athlete himself at the high school, had a great career at Brooke High School. A wonderful son. I've got 3 grandchildren. Champion of the state of West Virginia cheering, Marley. Are you still here, Marley? Okay, a state champion. Presley, she's going to be a state champion someday. Prue, he's going to be a professional basketball player. Not only that, I'm sure he's going to end up being the governor of Ohio. I swear to goodness he's going to be that. But my family is so important to me. The coaches that I've had. There's a saying, Sir Isaac Newton, I was a science teacher one time. Sir Isaac Newton, I stand on the shoulders of giants. When I came to Brooke High School in 1968, 9, whatever, long time ago, bud, right? I was fortunate enough to coach with guys like, listen to these names: Tony Pazzano, Bob Hedman, Sonny Ray, Jim Youngblood, Bud Billiard, Dave Ryder, Rush Schwartfagger, Dan Petrie, Dick Pannett, Kevin McCormick. These guys put me on their shoulder and they said, this is the way it's done. This is how you coach at Brooke High School. We're going to make champions out there. This is the way we do it. And I thank them for that, because they were mentors to me, and I appreciate Dave saying, Bill, we were just talking earlier, let's put in this defense today or whatever. And Dave would say, okay, you do this and I'll do that. I'll put the line in, you do the secondary. Or in basketball, Bill, let's get this done. You take these guys and we'll work on a certain technique or whatever. But Dave was able to say, okay, you do it your way. I don't care how you get it done, but let's get it done. Let's do it together. And that's what we did. That's exactly what we did. I have 40 years of memories at Brooke High School. The good thing for you is I don't remember most of them at my age. But I can tell you one thing. I can tell you this. Joe Catini, freshman at Brooke High School, was a little freshman playing varsity football with seniors. A starting infielder, you couldn't get the ball past him when he was batting. He could hit anything that you threw at him. Became a major league player and a major league coach. I saw guys like Mark Schwartfagger pitch a perfect game at the state tournament, state baseball tournament. Nathan White kicking field goals to set records. Bobby Whitehead was mentioned earlier. Bobby Whitehead, we used to take Bobby Whitehead and put Vaseline on his stomach and give him T-shirts that were half cut so that nobody could tackle him. That was Georgie Ridley that did that. He was a character. Okay. The 1985 state championship team that we were able to recognize last week. What a bunch of guys. Jeff Schweitzer could work magic. John Cox told me, ain't no defensive back that's going to tackle me, he said. And that's the truth. That's the mentality that these guys had. They were great athletes. Chris, on the 1990 team, running the option down to the 1 yard line to set up the winning touchdown against Mount View. My son Kevin being the MVP of the Domino's Classic tournament, making the bucket at the buzzer to beat University High School and John Marshall High School. These are things that I remember. These are things that Brooke High School, and I know I forget a lot of things. John Leone going to Notre Dame, George Kidwell on his way to Penn State. These are the things that I remember. These are the things that give me so many memories here at Brooke High School. I'm so blessed to have these memories. Guys, I thank the committee so much, the administration so much, for allowing me to be on this wall, on a wall that, at least I'm not wanted for some kind of crime or anything, at least a wall that represents something that's good. So, Dr. Crook, what is Brooke County? It's the place to be, right? Okay, guys, let's go Brooke, let's go beat the Potters. Thank you guys so much, and thank you.